Hi friends, in this tutorial series we'll be implementing examples using Spring Boot and Elasticsearch. In a previous tutorial we had implemented Spring Boot Elasticsearch CRUD example where we connected the Spring Boot application to Elasticsearch instance using HTTPS. Also in another previous tutorial we had deployed Elasticsearch as Docker container. In this tutorial we'll be implementing a Spring Boot example to connect to the deployed Elasticsearch Docker container using HTTPS. For this I'll be taking reference of my website javanews.com. So go to Spring Boot Elasticsearch. The example that we'll be implementing today is connect Spring Boot application to Elasticsearch Docker container using HTTPS. In one of the previous tutorials, we had deployed Elasticsearch application to Docker container. So if we go to this tutorial here we had deployed Elasticsearch and Kibana as Docker containers. So the steps for this were, we created a network named Elastic, then we pulled the Docker image, and finally we ran the Docker image as a Docker container using this command here. So I've already pulled the Elasticsearch image using this Docker pull command. So if we go to Docker Hub, here in images, I have downloaded the Elasticsearch image and currently it is not running as a container. So let us start the Elasticsearch container. So this will deploy the Elasticsearch image as a Docker container. So here the Elasticsearch container instance, it has started successfully. Here we can see the current health as green. Also on the Elasticsearch container startup, it provides us some credentials which we'll be needing later. Also in another previous tutorial, we had implemented Spring Boot Elasticsearch CRUD example. So go to this tutorial here. So in this tutorial, we had implemented a Spring Boot application where we had exposed some REST endpoints, and using these REST endpoints, the user he could perform CRUD operation on the Elasticsearch instance. In this CRUD example tutorial, we had started the Elasticsearch instance directly, and on that we performed the CRUD operation. In this tutorial, instead of using this Elasticsearch instance, we'll be making use of an Elasticsearch Docker container on which we'll be performing the CRUD operations using our Spring Boot application. For this tutorial, we'll be modifying the source code that we had implemented for the Spring Boot Elasticsearch CRUD example. Also, you can go through this YouTube video for this tutorial here. Go below here, and here from download source code, download the code for the Spring Boot Elasticsearch CRUD example that we had implemented before. So here in Eclipse, I have imported the Spring Boot Elasticsearch CRUD project that we just downloaded. Right click on the pom.xml. Run as, do a Maven build, the second one, and here I'll be giving the command as clean install, skip test, apply, run. So this will download all the dependencies that we have specified in the pom.xml. In the Spring Boot Elasticsearch CRUD example, when creating the Spring Boot project, we had created a class named HTTP client config impl where we were configuring the HTTP client to connect to the Elasticsearch instance. In this class, we had provided the credentials that were used by the HTTP client to connect to the Elasticsearch instance. For this, the credentials were Elastic and the password was Java in use. Now, since we have started the Elasticsearch as a Docker instance, so here the password that is provided to us is this one. So we'll need to use this one. The username will be Elastic, but this will be the password. So go to Eclipse. Here go to source main Java, config, HTTP client config impl. And here instead of Java in use, we'll be making use of this credential. Also, in order to make a HTTPS connection to the Elasticsearch instance, this HTTP client config impl, it needs a trust store which we had created previously. So here, this is a command using which we had created the trust store. So in the Elasticsearch JDK bin, there is keytool.exe. Using this, we had created a new trust store. And in this trust store, we had imported the Elasticsearch certificate named http_ca.crt. So we'll need to do something similar for the Elasticsearch instance running as a Docker container. So let us create this trust store for the Elasticsearch Docker container. So using the docker exec command for the Elasticsearch container named ES01, we'll be running the ls command at this location. So inside the Elasticsearch Docker container, we have this user share Elasticsearch config certs. So copy this command. So in one command prompt, this Elasticsearch Docker container it is running. I started another command prompt. So here we can see that inside this Elasticsearch container, in the certs folder, we have these three certificates, and we'll be creating a new trust store and then importing this http://ca.ca cert inside the trust store. Next, using docker exec, we'll be executing a command inside the Elasticsearch container to create a new trust store. So here we'll be creating a trust store named truststore.p12, and also for this trust store, we'll be importing the http://ca.crt file that is there in the certs folder. So this command to create the trust store is exactly similar to the one that we had used in the Spring Boot Elasticsearch CRUD example. Only difference is that we'll be executing this command inside the Elasticsearch Docker container, and we'll be making use of the JDK bin key tool that is present in this Elasticsearch Docker container for running this command. So copy this command and execute it. If we now do docker exec ls command for the certs folder, here we can see a new trust store it has been created for us. Next, we need to export this trust store on a local machine so that a Spring Boot application can use this. For this, we'll be making use of the docker cp command. So for the container named ES01, we'll be copying the truststore.p12 file to d-elastic-cert folder. So the truststore, it will get copied to this location, d-elast-cert. Copy this command. So here it is showing successfully copied. If you now go to the elast-cert folder, here we can see the truststore.p12 file, it has been successfully exported. Next, in the HTTP client config.mpl, where we are configuring the HTTP client, we'll be giving the location of the truststore that we just exported from the Elasticsearch container. These are the only changes required. Let us now start the Spring Boot application. So right click, run as Java application. This will start the Spring Boot application and it will connect to the Elasticsearch container. For the Spring Boot project, we have implemented the employee controller class. So in this class, we have exposed various REST endpoints for performing the CRUD operations, and one of them is the /employees. Using this, we get all the employee records from the Elasticsearch instance. So copy this. If you now go to localhost 8080/employees, here we get empty results because the Elasticsearch instance, it does not have any employee records currently. So the get employees API, it is working properly. You can perform other CRUD operations like create, delete using this application.